Hi everybody, it's Janie here at the League-Kempner house in Galveston. We're a nonprofit set up to restore and preserve this incredible house. And today is a really exciting day for us and for me. It has been a long time coming, but the roofers are coming back this morning. Hopefully, we know how that's gone in the past. I'm here waiting on the delivery of the big boom lift, but they're going to be finishing up all the roof work. They're going to flash the remaining chimney, put our guttering system up, do some repair work from Hurricane Beryl, fix a couple of vent issues, just regular vent issues, but most of all, get these big eyebrow arches off the ground and back up on the roof where they belong. It has been a long and arduous task, and just really, in hindsight, I'm not sure I would have done that again. I might have gone and gotten a job somewhere and paid for someone to do this. It was hard, and thank you, Heather, for sticking with me and getting that done. But we saved a lot of money. I got a lot of questions. Why didn't you just have the roofer do that? Well, expense. It was going to be an $8,000 plus job to do that. We were able to negotiate, take some cost off our roofing bid, do it ourselves, and we're going to put that money we saved towards our big electrical work that we need to do to start getting wiring pulled into the house. So we're excited. I'm going to go sit and cross my fingers and hope they show up. We'll see what happens. All right, Nathan's back, and we are up here haggling on our bid. So everybody's checked out the flashing on the fireplace, and it's not leaking. It's not done exactly right, but it's watertight, and there's some condition issues with the plaster we need to fix. So we've decided to leave this alone. It's not a problem. So we're taking that off the bid, but we're adding our barrel repair in place of it. So this happened with barrel. I showed you that before. We're going to put some metal flashing over that, seal it better, and come back. They're going to repair the caps that came off the walls and go around and check everything and make sure everything's tight so another wind event doesn't take our copper caps off. Gutter will be coming up. They've got an 85-foot boom instead of the 60-foot boom to make it easier for these guys to work at these heights. So they're going to clean up some leftover material up here, get the gutter up. Okay, these we're going to leave down until we get all the scanning done. But there's one that's unique that goes right up there, and I might have them put that back up since they have that extra tall boom. And that is our solar vent. Where's the solar part? The solar panel to the vent was already upstairs in the bathroom. This is how we get on and off the roof when that boom isn't here. So they're going to tackle all the small projects they can do while we're waiting on that lift to get delivered.
So this is not copper?
It is copper. It's copper. When Nathan was here earlier, we talked about and determined placement for the solar vent. And the roof already has a huge hole in it where the cupola is. So it's a natural vent for heat to rise, but it is at a lower level on the roof, and we need something a little bit higher because hot air rises. We're constrained where it can go. We don't want it on the front because of appearances, and we don't want it on that side peak that's going up higher because that's where the original eyebrow arch needs to go. As big as this roof is, there's actually very limited placement for these guys. So we came up with what we thought was a good space, and then the diameter of the opening was marked. All the shingles had to be removed, and then they had to use the circular saw to cut through the decking. Now the decking here is that old, very hard tongue and groove pine. It's a true inch thick, so it's actually taking quite a bit of work to get through there and make the opening for it. So it was kind of sad to see all the brand new shingles, watertight shingles, coming off and another hole being put in the roof. Anytime you have any kind of a entry into the roof like this, you have risk of leak down the line. But we really need that vent to get a little more air movement through this attic in the summer. It's pretty hot up there, and the cupola by itself just can't manage it. So you can see how hard he's working to break through here. He was able to get through and do kind of a rough placement of it. Then it was time to come back down and take a look at the actual diameter that was needed. So the first hole he cut is just to get eyes on the rafters and see what's going on, and then put some final markings on there to maximize the amount of airflow up through this fan. To be bigger?
He was gonna make 18 by 18. That's enough. Normal houses is 12 by 12. So 18 by 18 is gonna be all right.
For this is a bigger vent, he said. It's not a
That's
residential.
That's a nice one. That's a big one.
Yeah. Well, we don't really have a lot of places to put two.
Right.
So he went with a bigger one. Hopefully it'll be enough. All that work and then cut a hole in it. So, do you know what kind of driver this is for that?
I don't know which one is, but I don't have any one of those. That's a special.
I don't have one either. I've never seen one that big.
Yeah. But
is there a name for it?
I'm not sure.
I can run to the hardware store and get one.
I'm not really. Probably we take a picture.
Well, I can take a picture and go.
Yeah.
Chalmers is just 3 blocks that way. I can run to the hardware store in a minute and get one. So while they're continuing on with the fan installation, I decided to tackle removal of these 4x4s. They were originally put on the flat roof as a place to put the air conditioner compressors eventually, but they were put on wrong. They were just screwed right through. They should be strapped on with something called a pitch pan. We can get into roof attachments in a later video, but right now they're causing leaks, so they need to come up and I need to patch the holes where these screws are. But it has this odd, very large, kind of a star tip drive to it that I haven't seen before. While I'm trying to figure out the driver, more work is going on to prep the opening for the solar fan. Once the hole was cut, a lot of shingles had to be removed to give the fan a place to be attached. More ice and water shield had to be put down around that. And then once it's on, they have to very gently lift up shingles and slide the new shingle under and be able to get a nail up under there without damaging the shingle. So fortunately, these shingles haven't been on that long and they're on the shady side, so they haven't fully stuck down. There's a band of tar on shingles that heat up and kind of adhere one layer to the next, so it was a little easier than it might have been had this been through a really hot summer on the sunny side of the house. But still in all, it's a tedious, time-consuming process to get done and not cause new leaks. Once all that work was done, it was time to bring it down again, and this time we needed to attach the solar panel and get it functional. Now, this unit is designed to have the solar panel sit on top, but fortunately it comes with an adapter kit where you can put the solar panel in a different place. Each unit is a little bit different, so it was time to pull out the instructions and start seeing what needed to be done. Okay, we've been up here problem solving. The vent has to be on the back, which will put it mostly in the shade, and it's designed for the solar panel to be on top. But it's working?
Yeah.
Okay, but
Let me see.
here, you hold that. go too far. Okay. So I have to climb on the roof, not very far, and look for a spot. And I have selected this little spot here. So it will always be in the sun. And it does come with a long cable and some different mounting brackets, so it can be separate from the unit. But he just set it in the sun for just 30 seconds and it already started. So we're gonna put it, yeah, right there. Right there. I think it'll be perfect. Fortunately, as I said, this product comes with an adapter kit to put it somewhere else. It also comes with a swing arm where you can attach it to the top of the solar fan but raise it up into a vertical position to catch the sun. When we read the instructions though, I thought it was funny because it said you can do that anywhere except Texas and Florida, and I'm assuming that that's because of hurricanes and the wind. So I don't know what happens to Mississippi and Louisiana and Georgia and North Carolina and their hurricanes, but it does specifically call out Texas and Florida not to do that. So, oh my God, it's really here. This bad boy goes 85 feet. Question is it bigger than my gate? Okay, it just sounds bigger when it drives. That's an 85 footer?
Yeah. Actually 86.
86. Alright.
Sí.
Alright.
En este uno.
Ahí va uno con la chimenea en el pico.
No. Uno aquí, uno allá y otro allá.
4. Aquí no hay uno.
No.
Where they are?
The three things is
Yeah,
gonna be
1,
on
2,
that.
3.
Yeah.
And only the one on the front.
Allá
Really
en el redondo por el cuarto.
Like because of this apartment, you can't get far back enough. But this is the one that's more restricted in where it can fit.
Okay.
So if we do that one first and then this,
And then we
do
figure
a
out the
line
others.
around, it should be good.
¿Terminamos el solar primero o no?
Sí, de una vez porque ya.
Okay, we are doing one of our simplified drawings because it's too hard to show on the video, but they are going to put the first eyebrow arch on the side of the house that doesn't show. And the reason they're doing it is that side has the tightest space to put it in. If you look at the house from the front, the roof line goes up and has a straight thing across and comes down. So this side is actually this side coming this direction. And the eyebrow arch itself is about 7 feet or so wide. And where it sat before was at the highest place it could to the top of the roof. And that's because hot air rises. They wanted it up near the top so air could get out. So they placed it as high as they could get it and not interfere with those ridges. So we're going to do the same. The guys are going to put it up as high as they can and then use the bottom of it as a line to determine where that continues around on the front. And then we'll use that line to place the one on the front because it's got a lot more space to work with, but it'll be centered and even on the bottom with this one. But this one is space constrained, so it goes first. If you look at the third vent on the back, and I apologize for the grainy pictures of the roof, it's the best we have, but if you look at this third vent, it is also very constrained as to where it can go because of that top ridge of the roof of the wing coming out in the back. So when these were removed, we did not bother to measure where they go back because they can really only go back in one position because of these physical constraints. I don't know Nicholas Clayton's design process, but it looks to me in hindsight that this roof was designed. And remember, everything in this house is about airflow for cooling. Think back to our grand staircase, all the transom windows. We've talked about airflow a lot. Everything is designed for all the hot air to come up to this peak of the roof, and then he maximized the size of the vents that he could get up there to allow hot air to escape from the building. That's like a putty.
No te vele Roberto para que ya no. Sí, porque
It goes on,
la gente ahí también.
and when the screw goes through it, it'll kind of seal for leaks to the roof. We had quite a language barrier, so it took a very long time to come to an understanding to make sure everybody was on the same page about where the vent went. This is one of the reasons why it's so important that someone has to be here all the time when people are working, because it's too easy to have a miscommunication, and if something like this vent went up in the wrong place, it could be catastrophic, really, the expense to undo it and get it done right, and just the waste of time and material. So it was worth doing. Then I went back to trying to unscrew by hand these very long screws in these 4x4s. We finished that solar vent install and everything was working great. I'm happy with the placement. The panel will always be in full sun. I have no idea what I'm filming. We're like a crab going up. The installation looks really neat. It was working great and it won't be visible from anywhere on the ground. Does it have a thermostat in it that turns it on and off? It's already preset. Okay. Do you know what temperature it cuts on at?
Normal 95.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So all the time it's going to run. With the solar vent done, it was time to turn attention to some of the damage done by Hurricane Beryl, where it ripped off the cap flashing. That's all the screw they put in it?
Yes,
Oh,
but
no wonder.
some ones they don't hold pretty good.
No wonder it
Ese sí está bien,
probably
dale
didn't even
más,
go in.
Sí, ahorita me lo ambiento yo aquí, yo sí puedo, no uso la cadera.
Mother Nature is a powerful thing. If you guys recall from a video long ago, this is actually the second time that this section of cap flashing has been ripped off. And the last time my husband and I were working down below and had gone to lunch, and we had what's called a microburst, which is just an incredibly short-lived, localized, violent storm with very, very high winds, similar to the one that ripped the roof off the little parlor area. But this one ripped this cap flashing off and smashed it to the ground and mangled it. The wind gets up underneath these edges and just lifts it off. It's a little bit scary. So it's designed to just clip on. It's got a lip on it, but instead of just relying on that clip, because this is the second time it's happened, they're putting in much longer anchors. You've seen Ricardo use them. It's kind of a lead cladded nail that you put in, and then it deforms, kind of like the rivet does when you hammer it in. So they're going to take the time to get this very well sealed. That'll help keep air and water from going under. They're using that putty tape that he showed, and one reason he likes it is, unlike caulk, which no matter how good a quality caulk you buy, over time it will shrink and pull away. This is like a pliable putty that remains pliable. It doesn't cure, and it will stay in place. Seal these two together and then put those much longer anchor bolts in. So they're going to do it not only here at the end where the two pieces overlap and join, but they're going to put a few down the side so that they're not relying on that kind of hook and lip system to keep things attached. So I think it's going to be a much better seal. Hopefully it won't happen again, but it is something that we can do ourselves. Go around and check all of the other cap flashing and add some anchors. I was really shocked at how short those screws were. By the time you go through this flashing and into the brick, they didn't have much holding power. So you can see here he's going to drill out the hole for the anchors. It's actually akin to what those anchor bolts are in the basement, that you screw down the bolt and it deforms the bottom, except in this case it's just a nail, so he taps in that lead liner. It's hard to see, but the nail part is sticking up. Once he's got the lead liner all the way in, he nails it down, it expands and really provides that tight grip. So hopefully this is the last time this thing will blow off, because it's very dangerous. This cap flashing looks like it's original to the house. It is copper, although somebody spray painted it with some copper colored paint, but it's in great shape. My guess is when it was put on much more precisely and fit better. But over the years, as the roof had to be changed in and out and hurricanes hit, it's probably been taken on and off a few times, so that lip kind of locking system is not as good as it used to be. So better to drill through and put some anchors in here and be safe going forward. Once all this was secure, it was time to turn the attention to another problem. And this problem really surprised me, because it was done by the roofing crew that put on our shingles. And they did such a phenomenal job and were careful with everything, but they just did this vent wrong. When you have an intrusion like this coming through the roof, you put a lead boot around it, and the lead is very soft and malleable and can fold over the top of the pipe so that water can't get between the lead sleeve and the pipe itself. The roofers just slipped it over, left the pipe long, and ran some caulk around it, which is not the way to do it, and it almost immediately started leaking. I think this was a case where we had a communication problem. So nevertheless, it needed to come out and be redone. There is a tool that you can put down and cut the pipe off once the boot is there, but that's risky. You could cut through the lead sheathing and create a leak. So they elected to just take it off and put a new one. Now, lead is malleable, so this boot doesn't come pre-sloped for the roof. You put it on and you can tap it and bend it and kind of mold the lead to the shape you want. So it took a few fittings to get everything snug and tight in the way he wanted it. But once that was done, then it was time to just put the shingles back on around it, a little bit more of the putty and weather seal to make sure this thing stays watertight. But it's not a hard process. Okay, the gutters are here. Oh my gosh. Oh wow, okay. So it's very exciting to see the gutters come on site. It's taken a long time to get these because of some material issues. And up close and personal, they are huge. The chimney caps were also here. Unfortunately, we have 4 chimneys and there were only 3 chimney caps. So I've got to go make some calls and see what's going on there. But all in all, still very exciting to have these come on site. It'll be interesting to see how they look on the building, because what I found with those eyebrow arches is on the ground they look huge, but once they were on the roof, they really, the scale changes and they don't look that big. But we want to make sure we catch all that water coming out of that U-shaped area, and as you've seen before, it's a lot of water, so these guys should do the trick. I was expecting the gutter to be large, but I was not expecting the downspouts to be the same size as the gutter. So there's no way we're going to have overflow on this thing once the downspouts are put on. So the next question we have, or the problem we have to resolve, is the takeaway from the bottom of the spout out to our retention pond. But for now, these things are here. They're gorgeous and shiny. That's not going to last long. They'll patina and start darkening right away. But they're still going to be really pretty on the house, and it's nice to be able to use original material because copper is what was there originally on the house, and it will last a lifetime. Alright, I was in Home Depot getting some galvanized finishing nails for the roof. They don't have stainless, but I was right across from the lag screws, which reminds me that I have a serious project to do with our pull down ladder is unsafe. So I'm going to get 8 of these guys and do that project tomorrow. The day ended and I retreated back to the Lucas apartment to spend the night, and I love spending the night because I have the best view in the world of the Bishop's Palace at night. But after a good night's sleep, it was back early in the morning to get started again. This time with the smaller projects done, they're going to tackle those eyebrow arches. It is another beautiful day. Everybody's getting harnessed up to make an attempt at putting the first one up on the roof. Fingers crossed. After some discussion, they decided to do the smallest one first. That meant the big lift was in the back and it had to be driven around to the front. That was quite a challenge. It is much larger than the other one. It would not go under the porte-cochere. We had to take it around the side yard. It made a mess and destroyed the yard, but they did get it into position. Then the question became where to place this arch. This is a photo of the arch up there before it was taken down 3 years ago when the roof was done the first time when we did this peaked area. So we had that as a guide, and I positioned myself across the street to give some direction. Okay, I am posted out in the street. My job is to use my centering eye and direct them to the right position on the peak up there. Okay, here we go. Nope. Maybe not. He's a little slow on the lift. The controls are different. So it takes a while to get the hang of using it. So I've edited this down considerably. It took forever between the sensitive controls on the lift and just how bulky this thing is. And remember, it's much smaller than the bigger ones they're going to have to do. And then working around their harnesses and the odd angles, they finally got it on the roof. And then it took a very long time to get it positioned because the lift was blocking the view and it was hard to see if it was centered, and they can't really tell from their position. They don't have the right angle to see the straight plane of the house from the front, so it's very distorted. All they can visually see is the peak, but they did finally get it up there. And then there was always the concern of would it actually curve and bend and conform. If you watched all those other videos, you know that was an issue. I hear a nail going in. Sorry I couldn't film it. It took a little bit to get it centered and at the right height, but all he has to do is get 2 nails in. Oh my gosh, this has been a long time coming. This is exciting. Our bling is back. Okay, we got it centered and at the right height. It was just a little bit off level on the horizontal, so they've scooched it a little bit. I'm going to take another look because once it's up, it is not coming down. With the first vent placed, they didn't want to take the time to install it properly. They wanted to move back around to the rear and look at placement of the other vents before they started any roof work at all. So we went back and started the process over. So after all the time we spent yesterday talking about placement of these, we have a new person on the crew, and we lost the gentleman who spoke great English. So now we have a serious communication problem, and I'm trying to explain to the new person where it goes, and it's not going well. And in hindsight, I don't know why I didn't use Google Translator, but in the heat of the moment, we were just trying to make do. So I had to actually climb up higher on the roof, and I'm just not good at it. I don't know why, but I slide. They were worried for me, but I made it up to the first board where I had something to sit on and not slide. And I'm not very high. I'm maybe 3 feet up, and if I do fall down, I'll just slide onto the flat roof. But I was close enough that I could hand gesture and kind of explain to him what was going on. So again, we had the tape measure, trying to measure the bottom and get the concept of putting it up high. But you can really see here now that peak, and you'll watch when they place it how they're going to put it up as far as they possibly can. But they do have to be careful about the nailing fins on the outside that you saw. They're much wider than the part of the vent that shows, so that's the width we have to worry about, because they can't get too close to those ridge caps. They're going to have to lift the ridge caps up and snug it up as much as they can, but we do have to worry about interfering with that. So a lot of measuring went on, and one of the words we had a problem with was they were using the word straight, whereas I was using the word level. It turns out we both meant the same thing, but we were interpreting it differently. So this was quite a lengthy process to get this done, but at the end of the day, it worked. And then we had to repeat, and we had the same issue as we moved around to the front about centering. So it getting them up in the right place was just so much trouble. But these guys were great. They were very patient, and they did get the concept. I finally did have to go down and get paper and pen and do some drawings, just like I did for you guys, to show and just confirm that we had it right. These vents are heavy. It's not something you can just move around and work with easily. Because these vents are so heavy, and they will have to carry them and manipulate them on the roof, and you know, they're great at walking on the roof. You saw me sliding everywhere. They don't. They are so sure-footed. But with the bulk of the vent and the awkwardness of it, they wanted something more secure. So they ended up using a lot of 2x4s to nail some supports or braces on the roof to use as steps. And it did freak me out a little bit, because every time you put a nail or a screw through, you introduce a hole that could leak in the future. Now, they're very careful when they remove these boards. They lift the shingle and put some roofing tar under where the screw went to seal that, but it's still the potential for a lot of leaks, and it was a lot of boards. But as we always say, safety first. It's necessary, and I don't think they could have put these big guys up without doing it. Once they got all the boards in place and they coordinated among themselves, it was showtime. And I'm sorry I didn't get a picture of the arch coming up on the lift. That was quite a feat in and of itself, balancing this giant thing on the basket with people in it and getting it transferred over to the roof.
Dele espacio, compadre, no nos agüite, no trate de agarrarla bien, trate de no resbalarse, porque esta madre, si yo la cago, lo corta a usted, si usted la caga, me va a cortar a mí. Agarre bien, agárrala duro, agárrala de aquí, ve, y aquí mire, compa, y aquí ve. No, del filo, agárrala del filo, ahí, vámonos, vamos para arriba, yo lo voy a ayudar a puchar, yo lo voy a ayudar a puchar, vámonos.
This was actually very scary to watch. You can see that they're not going to fall off the roof. They're not harnessed. If they slipped and fell like me, they would just come back to this very large flat section of the roof. But they were very out of balance carrying this thing, and they could easily trip, and it's heavy. It could fall on top of them. They could still get very seriously injured. This is just an awkward thing to move around. It's hard to move around on the ground. It's especially hard to move it around up there with all of the slope of the roof and the slipperiness of it. And you can see just how big it is relative to the roof now that they're getting it placed. And that last board you saw them move, that was where I had come back up through the window with my drawing and measurements again, and so they moved that board down to give them room to get the placement right. But you can see just how tight it's going to fit. Look at that left fin and how close it is to the ridge line there. I think you're good. So again, as we talked about, they're trying to get it as high as they can. I think you can come down a little. You can come down a little.
A little more?
If you want.
One more chingo?
One more maybe, yeah. Does that work on your valley over there?
This is good.
Does that work on the valley for you? Yeah, if you're good with it in the valley, then you're missing the cap over here.
Good.
That looks good.
This is good.
Good.
Yeah, okay. You sure, right?
I am positive.
All right.
I'm not gonna change my mind on this one.
All right. Good. I'm putting it right now.
That scared me too much. It looks pretty good where it is. You can see they had that bottom board to rest that lower fin on to keep it from sliding while they do some more measuring and tweak it from side to side. But once this one was up, the rest of them are easy because they just follow the line around level. We'll just extend it to the front of the house, to the back, and put the others on. And it is odd because they don't show. This one you can see a tiny bit of the top if you get at one certain spot in the yard. The one in the back, you almost have to be at the way back fence to see any of it. But we still want them to be as precise as possible. With drone photography, now hopefully we can get up and get some good shots of it. Once again, they're just going to tack it in place and do some markings with some chalk where it goes, because they'll have to remove this, take shingles off, put some ice and water shield down, and then permanently install them. But it's important to get everything oriented first. These guys worked hard all day, and really all they did was get 2 of the vents placed in the proper position. It's a lot of work. So they'll be able to come back now and get these installed, get the other 2 big ones placed and wrap up, and then we'll move on to the gutters. So this is the last bit of work we did in 2024. We still have probably 2 more videos to show the completion of the work. You guys will see those after Christmas and early next year. But as a volunteer, we took a break from physical labor for ourselves. We were tired, and we had a lot of events in November and December, but we have a long list of projects that we are kicking off in the new year. And I do have to brag a little bit. We did not miss a single Sunday video this year, I don't think. I'm not sure if we can keep up that pace next year, but we're going to try. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. I hope you have some quiet time with your family. That's what we're planning on doing. And we will post another video next week. Like I said, there's still the wrap up of the roofing. But I'd like to end today's video with something special for one of our very special followers. No one else will understand what the video is. You can watch the rest of it if you want, but Carson, this one is for you. Thanks for being our #1 super fan. Look, I don't know if I can do it without laughing.
It doesn't work if you laugh.
Okay. All right, this is Janie and Joe. We are here at our very last day, we're open for tours in the year 2024. And very appropriately, our super fan Carson and his family were our last tour of the year. And so, Carson, this one's for you. Ready? Mm-hmm. You went the wrong way.
We did not rehearse.
Anyway, thank you, Carson. We love you. Bye.
Bye.